I was a stripper. I was lost. I wasn't even 21. I used someone else's ID to work there. I went to the sliding scale women's clinic, but it also happened to be the day of my court date because I had gotten arrested for shoplifting. And the first thing I sold online was stolen.
You described this chapter of your life as being very lost.
Super lost. Super lost. I was looking for I kind of hate this word, tribe. I was looking for people like me. I thought I would find people like me and then all would be well, like some Disney character that, ugly duckling or someone who loses, they're lost from the wolf pack. I don't know what these movies are. And then they find their family and people understand them. And so from the time I was 17, I moved from downtown Sacramento to Olympia, Washington, lived in 2 places there. Seattle, lived in 2 places there. San Francisco, lived in 1 or 2 places there. Oakland with my alcoholic fry cook boyfriend I had met in Olympia. We couldn't get jobs and my parents were like, yeah, we can't help you with college stuff. So then we moved to Portland. I was a stripper. I was lost.
That's an interesting turn of events.
Yeah, that was an interesting turn of events. And
that chapter of your life in some ways mirrors the transience of the start of your life. You said you moved to like eight or 10 different schools when you were young. And then when you leave the nest, you end up bouncing around, as in your own words, like looking for your family.
I was looking for some place to belong and I never found it. And I kind of love that because it's forced me to make my own and forced me to stay a creative thinker. And also, I don't know, this isn't fair, but the people in some of those communities like peaked and never left. It's like, I listened to pop punk in high school. Can you imagine? I'm sorry if anybody listening is like never graduated from listening to pop punk, but if you don't graduate to metal or some other, it's not even more sophisticated, but like less juvenile varieties of rock, it's the same as finding, some comfortable community when you're 20 and then never leaving. Like that sounds awful to me. So I'm glad I didn't find a comfy place. And it's been uncomfortable since then.
How long did you try the stripping thing?
I don't know. I mean, when you're in your late teens, early 20s, time just feels like, it felt like a decade that I was, bouncing around to these places. Probably 3 or 5 months. It was fun. I loved it. Nobody pulled anything. I never got messed with. I drank my White Russians and ate the Subway sandwich from next door and played photo hunt. And I wasn't even 21. I used someone else's ID to work there. And I got to dance to music that I liked. I made money. I didn't really have to engage with anybody. And I got really comfortable with my body in a way that I hadn't before. And that was cool.
They say, I read in your book where you said that you believe you hold the world record for having the most shitty jobs, like back to back throughout that period of your life. They say, I've learned this from this podcast, that every job teaches you something.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing can be applied to business. There's always a sort of a transferable skill or whatever learned. What was the transferable skill that you learned from stripping that you think has probably stayed with you today?
I think that even though I didn't have the upper body strength to be the traditional one upside down swinging around, what I could do, it was like shuffle around and whatever was enough and still charismatic enough and still great enough to entertain other people. And then being comfortable with my body. It's like exposure therapy. I was the girl at 18 who would like make out with someone. And then if I was like naked or something, I'd like put on my clothes to go to the bathroom or something. I was like I didn't sleep with anybody till I was 19. So I was kind of late. And by 20, I was stripping in Portland.
That escalated quickly.
I'll tell you the crescendo of that experience. So dating Wade, the alcoholic fry cook who was 10 years older than me, I I was on birth control. I went off birth control for like one day, and we were hardly even, engaging in the way that someone might like get pregnant. Like, so briefly, like that day, and then no
You're
other
describing
day.
sex. And you're like,
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know who's watching. And I wound up pregnant. So I'm like 20, maybe 19. And I went to the sliding scale women's clinic, and it was the only day I could get in, but it also happened to be the day of my court date because I had gotten arrested for shoplifting. So I had to have the women's clinic write an excuse to the court telling them why this poor girl couldn't make it to her court date. And the whole thing I kept following up to be like, when is it rescheduled? And I think they all just felt so bad for me, it kind of vanished. But that was like, okay, no more shortcuts. It wasn't like, I'm going to go be a CEO. But it also just taught me that breaking some rules puts you in other people's hands. And I was, being arrested. I'm not as autonomous as I would have liked to have been. And, even with stripping, to a certain extent, it was a shortcut. I was trying to evade, like, working hard, but it was also a lot of fun. But that was a low point. It's had lots of low points. But at least it's like this, right? It's been like this. It doesn't ever go that low.
there's clearly a slight issue here with authority. And it feels to me like the ultimate authority, which is the law, eventually was like, you can't fuck with us. We're not the teacher.
Yeah, it was like, okay, like maybe just figure out how to get along, It wasn't like, wow, I'm going to go have a career and do everything. I'm going to just do everything differently. But also, I just didn't want to cut corners. I didn't want to end up not in control of my environment or stuck in jail or something stupid.
Shoplifting.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you make that sound?
I don't know. It was fun.
What was your favorite thing to steal?
I don't endorse shoplifting.
Neither do I.
My rationale for shoplifting was that there was so much excess in, our culture that it would never make a dent to steal organic tampons from Fred Meyer, which is like Target in Portland or whatever. So when I did get caught, and this was my favorite thing, was just walking out with stuff. So I would get a whole shopping cart of stuff. I had a little teeny tiny little razor thingy. So I knew where the sensors were, and I would cut them off if they were there and pile a shopping cart high and just walk out with no bags or anything. I did it at grocery stores. I furnished apartments. I walked out of places with like literal rugs this high, just walked out because nobody expects you to be that like obvious about it. They're looking for somebody who's like putting stuff in their pockets. And when I did get caught, I had like a George Foreman grill, I think a basketball, organic tampons, some food, really nice shower curtain rings. They were metal, and then they had like ceramic. They were heavy, and they had like a ceramic thing that said hot, and then the other one said cold. And I was like, yes, this is luxury.
It's worth jail time.
So that was, yeah. And, I built an online business. And the first thing I sold online was stolen. So another thing, and I learned this from people who were professionally trying to like avoid getting jobs and participating in capitalistic culture, which is a privilege. It's lazy. I was really young and I just didn't want to work. It was some kind of quasi-political lazy excuse for just not working hard.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor.
become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.